Hello, believers. Welcome back to another episode of Holistic Hive. I am so thrilled to have you here with me today. For those of you who are new, this podcast is all about nurturing your mind, body, and soul with holistic wellness, tips, delicious recipes, and inspiring stories. I'm excited to dive into this week's episode, where I'll be sharing my latest obsession, discussing some fascinating news in the wellness world, and wrapping up with a delicious recipe. So let's get buzzing. All right, let's kick things off with my current obsession. Lately, I've been absolutely loving mocktails. I've been creating so many so that I can have something besides water, tea, or coffee. And if you do not know, I am on the sober train, not just for health reasons, but also because alcohol and I do not have a good relationship. So I broke up with that bitch for good in June of 2024 after taking long breaks from it starting in November of 2023. Wanting to have something in my hand to enjoy during social events and holidays, I started mixing up things to make my own mocktails and trying out a bunch of recipes I found online. I even got my kids and husband to taste test them, and they were loving them just as much as me. My kids would ask me if we were creating a new mocktail tonight, or can we mix up some of the ones you already made? It inspired me to write all of them down and create another cookbook that is filled with just mocktails. But it's more than just mocktail recipes. It has all the information you need to become a mocktail mixologist yourself. I am currently getting all the finishing touches on it and will keep you updated on when it will be dropping. I am also so happy to be connecting with my children while creating this book and showing them that you do not have to always grab a drink to fit in with people. Now let's move on to our news segment for today. I came across a really interesting article about parents facing dangerous levels of stress. This caught my attention. Number one, because I'm a parent. Number two, I am stressed most of the time. Stressed that I'm fucking up these smaller humans and possibly doing it wrong. They didn't give me a manual when I left the hospital. Did you get one? If so, share it with me. So, this article is from The Hill. I will link it in the show notes, along with the rest of the articles I read to gather all this information for you. So, let's dive in to some of the quotes from the articles. The Surgeon General is warning that parenting can be harmful for your mental health because mothers and fathers face dangerous levels of stress. Murthy argued that parents today are facing different challenges from older generations, including social media, an increasing youth mental health crisis, and the epidemic of loneliness that impacts younger people and their parents. Earlier this year, Murthy pushed to require social media to have labels for its mental health impacts on young Americans. He's quoted as stating, "It is time to require a Surgeon General's warning label on social media platforms, stating that social media is associated with significant mental health harms for adolescents." He also called for legislation from Congress that would shield young people from online harassment, abuse, and exploitation from exposure to extreme violence and sexual content. Now, as someone who has teen children, I would really like to know how they plan to do this because a label is just going to get lost. It's no different than the labels on all of our food that no one can understand, the warning label on tobacco products that people still buy. It's a label alone is not going to do it. Social media has been growing so fast and sucking people in like cocaine to get that dopamine rush. I also think that part of this needs to be on the parents to moderate their children's social platform usage. There are several apps out there that you can use to moderate your children's screen time limits and which apps they can have access to. Our family has used the app called Our Pact for all of our children ever since our oldest started using social media 10 years ago. I like it because it offers a free option with a lot of the benefits I was looking for, such as limiting screen time, not letting them download certain apps, not letting them remove apps that they downloaded that I had no idea about. So I could see them, look into the app, and then decide if it was something that we felt was safe for them to use. To some, this may sound like a crazy, overprotective mother, but until you are in the throes of having a teenager in this new social media world, don't come for me. I was in my late teens to early 20s before all this social media popped off. In the second article I read, he is quoted as saying, "These harms are not a failure of willpower and parenting, they are the consequence of unleashing powerful technology without adequate safety measures, transparency, or accountability." Now, I am glad that he did not put it all on the parents here because raising kids is hard. Plus, my parents did not have to go through the things that I have had to go through as a parent with this new age of technology and social media. So, this is all uncharted waters for parents in this day and age. In a 2019 study, it was found that adolescents between the ages of 12 and 15 who spent more than 3 hours on social media daily had double the risk of developing symptoms of depression and anxiety. In 2018, Pew Research Center polled several adolescents and found that 97% report using at least one of the seven most popular social media platforms. One quarter of adolescents think social media has a mostly negative influence on people their age, pointing to reasons like rumor spreading, lack of in person contact, unrealistic views of others' lives, peer pressure, and mental health issues. Now, note that these are self reported for this study. I was wondering where they were getting all this information from. I was really hoping they were not purposely subjecting children to hours of social media use for this study and then screwing them up just to do research. And don't get me wrong here, I tried my hardest to read through all of those numbers, statistics, and analyses and almost had my brain explode. But my thoughts on all of this is that it's not just linked to adolescence. I think this affects adults too. We are only seeing what people want us to see on social media, and it is not always the truth or the full truth. For example, the perfectly curated living room that is aesthetically pleasing in the social post, yet the rest of their house may be a mess. I know my house doesn't normally look like that and have fallen into the grips of comparison with pictures on social media that made me perceive them as having it together better than me or looking better than my house looked. And how can we compete with the unrealistic? What are your thoughts on this? Do you moderate your children's screen time or which apps you let them use? Now, although social media can be a great tool to see people far away and stay connected with family and friends in other states, or to build an online community of like minded individuals so you can feel seen and heard, it does come with its downfalls, which I do not think any of the creators thought about when starting in their college dorm room. I was late to the social media game, as I usually am when it comes to anything that's trending, because I'm always so unsure of the long term effects it's going to have. So I usually wait that out for a while before jumping in or trying it. I try to be conscious of what I share and how much, so as to not invite predators into my home to hurt me or my children, which is a real possibility. I remember when the internet was a new thing and we were told to be careful of what you put out there in the cyber world as it's there forever. And there have been so many stories in the headlines about people's sexy photos or sex tapes being leaked or shared that they didn't want out there for the whole world to see. And my husband and I have repeated this more times than I can count to our children and still do even to our college age child. Because it stands true. If you use a digital device to record or capture anything you do, it could potentially get into the wrong hands and be shared without your permission and possibly disrupting your life. Wasn't there that beauty queen that was discrowned for taking risque photos? And the millions of sex tapes that have been leaked? I want to end on this quote from the Surgeon General. The work of raising a child is work, no less valuable than the work performed in a paid job and of an extraordinary value when it comes to the impact on the future of society. When I saw this headline, I had no idea what I was in store for, and man, did this one take me down a rabbit hole. I was expecting something completely different, like the cost of living, the economy, the fear mongering about eating the right foods, or that we were overworked and sucked as parents. Not that social media is destroying our children's mental health. What did you think when you heard this title? Share your thoughts with me on socials. Kind of funny how I'm asking you to get on socials after telling you all the risks associated with it. But seriously, let's use it for good and keep this conversation going. Share what you do to mitigate your children's risk or your own so we can all learn and grow from one another. For the second news topic I want to cover this week, sleeping longer on weekends may help lower heart disease. Many people build up sleep debt during the week, hoping to make up for it by getting extra hours over the weekend. Sleep debt is the difference between how much quality sleep we need, at least 7 hours each night, and how much we actually get, according to the Cleveland Clinic. Without enough quality sleep, your body and brain cannot work as they should. In a new analysis being presented Sunday at the European Society of Cardiology Congress in London, cardiovascular researchers based in China found that people who got the most sleep on the weekend were 19% less likely to develop heart disease compared with a group who slept a few extra hours those 2 days. The UK Biobank project analyzed data from 90,903 subjects over 14 years who were compensated with the most extra sleep on the weekend. And the results from their self-reported study were 19% less likely to develop heart disease. First, I wanted to know about this UK Biobank project. So it is the most comprehensive and widely used data set of its kind and is globally accessible to approved researchers who are undertaking health related research that is in the public interest, whether they are from academic, commercial, government, or charitable settings. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense. This is still a self reported study, not a controlled study in a controlled environment. What are their lifestyles like? What are their normal stress levels, work, diet, like any of the underlying factors? This study has several limitations. It doesn't prove that weekend catch up sleep directly leads to an improvement in heart health. This is yet just another catchy headline that can possibly misinform people that they can be sleep deprived during the week, but if they sleep in on the weekends, they lower their chances of heart disease. You cannot make up for sleep. You get what you get, and if it sucks, you need to make changes to your sleep routine to make it a better quality sleep so that your body can rest and repair. For those of that do not know, there are two stages of sleep, REM and non-REM, and your body will cycle between these two stages several times throughout the night. Some of the key things that happen while you're asleep are energy conservation and storage. During the day, cells throughout your body use stockpiled resources to keep doing their jobs. While you're asleep, those cells resupply and stock up for the next day. It works on self repair and recovery, as well as brain maintenance. While you're asleep, your brain reorganizes and catalogs memories and learned information. This is like a librarian sorting and shelving books at the end of the day. And sleep deprivation also has long term health impacts. Research shows it may contribute to the following conditions: cardiovascular disease, metabolic conditions like type 2 diabetes, cognitive impairment, or dementia. I followed the link in the first article about catch up sleep behavior. And a 2019 study found a link between catch up sleep behavior and increased snacking and weight gain. The article is quoted as stating, for example, sleeping longer over the weekend may reduce fatigue and sleepiness. However, it may not reduce the risk of obesity in people who are sleep deprived. It also highlighted what I stated before. Our findings suggest that the common behavior of burning the candle during the week and trying to make up for it on the weekend is not an effective health strategy. You cannot bank sleep to make up for the shitty sleep you previously got. These researchers looked at the sleeping habits of 36 healthy adults aged 18 to 39 over 10 days in a lab. They were divided into three groups. Those who slept 9 hours a night for 9 consecutive days, those who had their sleep restricted to only 5 hours a night for 9 nights, and those who slept no more than 5 hours a night for 5 days, followed by a weekend when they could sleep as much as they liked before returning to a restricted sleep for 2 days. Both sleep deprived groups snacked more at night, resulting in weight gain, and saw declines in insulin sensitivity, a warning sign for diabetes. The weekend recovery group experienced some mild improvement during the weekend, but those benefits were negated when they resumed their weekday sleep restricted schedule. Now, this is research. It was conducted in a controlled environment where they are being analyzed and all doing the same thing, not self reported studies that do not include their diets, lifestyles, stress levels, or any other factors that can play a role in their health. Sleep deprivation causes people to have poor impulse control, and they're more likely to consume empty calorie foods like soda and high starch foods. Of course, you're going to reach for high sugar and carb ridden foods. Your body is in desperate need of immediate fuel to compensate for the lack of sleep. Instead of reaching for those carbs and sugars, reach for protein. It will provide you with sustainable fuel for longer periods of time and keep you satiated for a lot longer than sugar and carbs. The final highlight I want to share is sleep is not trivial, Cioxis says. It's the time when the body does the most of its repair work. That work needs to be done during the week as well as during the weekend. Okay, now into section 3, holistic health, or should we call it the wellness way of the week? Just testing out some names. Let me know what you think. This week, I want to share my sleepwalker mocktail recipe. You're going to need 2 ounces of a non alcoholic dark rum substitute. I like Ritual, but you can also use Lear's Dark Cane Spirit. You will need 1 ounce of blackberry puree, freshly made or store bought, whichever you prefer, half an ounce of fresh lime juice, half an ounce of agave syrup, blackberries, and a lime wheel for garnish, as well as ice cubes. In a cocktail shaker, combine all of your ingredients together, add the ice cubes to the shaker, and shake well for about 15 seconds to chill. Strain the mocktail into a chilled glass filled with ice cubes. Garnish with fresh blackberries and a lime wheel on the rim of the glass. Serve immediately and enjoy your refreshing and dark flavored Sleepwalker mocktail. This version uses a blackberry puree for a fresh and dark fruit flavor, combined with lime juice for a brightness and agave syrup for sweetness. It's a great alternative for a mocktail with a deep, rich color and flavor profile. I hope you give it a try and enjoy its benefits. If you do, be sure to let me know how it goes or share any tweaks you make to the recipe. Tag me on socials with a picture of your Sleepwalker mocktail. That is it for today's episode of Holistic Hive. I hope you found some inspiration, insight, or maybe just a bit of joy today. If you enjoyed what you heard, I'd be incredibly grateful if you could take a moment to rate and review the podcast on your favorite platform. Your feedback helps more listeners find us and join our wellness journey. Don't forget to follow me on social media for more updates, tips, and behind the scenes content. You can find all the links to my profiles along with more information and resources over on my website. And if you're looking for even more exclusive content or just want to support the show, be sure to check out my Patreon page. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, take care of your mind, body, and soul. And remember, wellness is a journey we're all on together. Be well.